Hello there. I just want to discuss how I improved 240 Chess ELO points within just a short space of 4 months, and basically how I did it. I got this idea from Nimzovich, who wrote a book called How I Became a Grandmaster, and in that book he referred to the 1906 Nuremberg tournament, in which he basically went through he studied the whole tournament and went through all of the games and basically spent about 6 hours per game. I believe there was around about, I looked on chessgames.com, I believe there was around about, I think it was like 136 games in that tournament. And obviously he said each game lasted at least 6 hours, he said, so he was obviously trying to study black and white about 3 hours each per side, and try to match the analysis of the grandmasters when he was studying the games. So that was his approach, about 6 hours through the whole 1906 Nuremberg tournament, and there was a massive leap in his level of improvement after he studied this tournament. I believe I think there was about 17 candidates in that tournament, 17 players, and I think I believe it was Marshall who won the tournament, as far as I remember. Quite a lot of strong players in the tournament. My approach was different, and my starting point was 1700 ELO as a starting point. That's where I started from, just to give you a bit of an idea of how good I was at the time. Initially, I will say as well, just to show you on the screen here, I studied a different tournament, not the Nuremberg 1906, but the Zurich International Chess Tournament 1953. And I went through this book actually by David Bronstein, which I highly recommend. I do recommend the book. In this tournament, there was 210 games. I think obviously considerably more than the Nuremberg tournament. So that's basically the book that I went through, 210 games. I had a slightly different approach. Initially, I decided to study 4 hours per game, and the first couple of days, it was like I realized it was just going to be too much time and study and effort to do it. So I decided to modify that and decided in the end to go for 2 hours per game, and that's basically what I did for the whole of the tournament. I spent 2 hours per game. So obviously there was 210 games, and obviously if you just times that by 2, that was 420 hours in total to get through the tournament. And I did diligently do that for 4 months. I did 2 games per day, and it took me about 4 months to get through the whole lot of the games. But obviously the results were amazing. There was a massive leap in my chess improvement. I can definitely vouch for that. I think the way I did it was I also tried to match the analysis of the grandmasters, and initially I took some notes. I tried to write down the notes, and that also became quite time consuming, so I decided to scrap that as well. So basically it was just 2 hours per game, and I didn't use the notes. I didn't write down the notes. Basically, after a couple of days I just scrapped that, and then just did it from my head and tried to memorize the positions in my head, and I didn't bother with the notes, but it did go in. I think that's the point. I also used a chess clock to try and give that tournament feel to it as well, so I didn't go over the time as well. So it was 2 hours on the chess clock, and try to put myself under a little bit of pressure. Obviously the usual technique, you cover the page when you're studying the game. You don't look at the moves, you analyze it first as far ahead as possible, and then you basically analyze. And after the game was finished, an important thing that I think is relevant is I actually just went over the game again after I'd finished the game and analyzed it deeply. Then I just moved the pieces around again, just going over the game, just summarizing what I'd basically analysed. And then what I did was, after I'd done that, I went over it just a third time, just even quicker the third time. It was quite quickly the second time, but then the third time was even quicker, just to try to really just try to get a bit of pattern recognition in there as well. And because they say that if you read something, if you read something 3 times, after the third time it becomes knowledge rather than just information. So I think that was the idea, just to try to soak in and get more from the fruits of my labours, if you like. And so yeah, that's basically what I did. I just went through the whole of this 1953 Zurich tournament by David Bronstein, which was a great tournament. So yeah, highly recommend that. I highly recommend the book. The book actually is very well annotated, and that's a good thing as well. You need a good annotation when you're studying chess. So it does go into it, and it's a sort of like a qualitative approach as well. It's not reams and reams of analysis. It's basically lots of textual descriptions of what's going on in the position and things like that, and that's really what you need. You need to get to know the typical plans, the typical structures, and that will really help you improve your positional game. And this book is basically it's all about the positional game, really, this book. So, and he's this particular position as well is actually Taimanov versus Nardov, and this game actually won the Brilliancy Prize for Nardov. Obviously, it's a King's Indian. It's just a little a snippet from the book here, so just for you to have a look at and see if you can actually find what the move is for black here. It's just basically black to move and do a tactical shot, which basically wins the game. But the game really is already won. Really, you can see the position of black is just dominating the board really with these pieces, particularly on the king's side. So just something to have a look at, and just a snippet from that game. And yeah, so that's basically how I improved. I think it's a good way of improvement. So if you like this video, please subscribe. I do have some more videos to come shortly, so on chess improvement. So if you like the video, just click subscribe and click like, and just thanks a lot for watching. Thank you. Bye bye.